Hi everyone, I'm Anna, Customer Success Manager at Aero.NextGen. For those who might not be familiar with us, Aero.NextGen is an aviation technology marketplace that connects airlines, MROs, and aviation organizations with digital solutions across the industry. Today, I'm joined by Mark Roboff from SkyThread. In this solution showcase, Mark will walk us through how SkyThread helps aviation organizations connect systems and create a trusted operational data environment. Mark, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here, Anna.
So I'll hand over to you so you can walk us through the platform and show us how SkyThread works.
So this is a SkyThread V2 platform, and we're looking at the main dashboard right now. Just note I'm in a development environment, so none of the data here is actually real or necessarily reflective of live systems that our live customers are using. But what SkyThread does is provide an inventory overview for anyone who has a stakehold in an aviation aftermarket supply chain. So I can look at, for instance, different aircraft in my fleet that I fly or that I support, and I can go in and get detail about that aircraft. If I have data about parts on that aircraft, they're going to appear here. I can go further in, say, to an engine. And if I have information about that engine, such as what that birth event is, or when it was made, or when it was installed, that would be here. And for complex parts like engines and landing gear, I can even go and drill down even further. But in this case, I don't have any information about this engine. So what I can do is look at information by different events. We categorize data in SkyThread by 6 events. It's original manufacture, what we call the birth, and the first shipment of that part is one event. The removal of a part from an aircraft and its shipment to either a repair facility or to another aircraft, if it's a part in a rotable pool, or a shipment for scrap. We'll cover that in a remove and ship event. When a parts come in for maintenance and repair, that will be covered in first the receiving of that part, and the clearance of that part for repair. We'll cover that in the receive and clear. When a part is actually repaired and then shipped back out to an airline, that's covered in a repair and ship event. And then when that part is put into service, that's covered in an install event. And then at the end of a part's life, right, as it goes through this cycle several different times over, when it's marked for end of life, we'll record a scrap event. So all the data that we collect from the different ERPs, different maintenance information systems that our customers use, that we use to layer upon of each other, on top of each other for validation purposes and for building the part history, is organized across these 6 events plus scrap events. So I'm going to go to a specific part that I have in my system, and that is a fuel nozzle. So one of the areas of primary focus for SkyThread today is working with the manufacturer of the fuel nozzles that go into the LEAP engines. One of the major maintenance issues that the industry has been working through over the last couple of years is the fact that these fuel nozzles are coking with a high degree of frequency. And when they coke, they need to be taken off the engine and they need to be sent through repair. And there are lots of different rotable pool programs and warranty programs managing the fuel nozzle repair process. But it's been a tentpole issue for the LEAD program now for the last couple of years. So I'm going to look at the history of a particular fuel nozzle. I'm going to go to serial number. It's PAT125R4. R4, not R dollar sign. Mm-hmm. So this is a fuel nozzle. It was manufactured by Advanced Atomization Technologies as a part number 6120066E05, and it's currently in a serviceable condition with its last repair event happening on June 8th, 2025. Now, if I click into this, I have a snapshot of the last data that I've received about this particular nozzle. It came from an engine on an aircraft VT-ICO, which is an A320. Came from engine serial number 59887. Most critically, it was in fuel nozzle position 4 amongst the 19 nozzles that are installed on this engine. And that's, again, information that we capture as the part and the parts data, right, flow through the ecosystem throughout the parts life cycle. Now, if I go here, I can see I've recorded a great deal of information about this part, which has been in service with various airlines for almost now the last 8 years, September 2018. So we can capture the birth of that part back in September of 2018. Its first installation on into an aircraft, which was down in Brazil with Azul. Its removal for repair, its reinstallation. It's gone through now 5 repair cycles, and is now again flying with VT as Air India. And there's some information that we don't have. For instance, we're not capturing information from those airlines that have used this part. So when we don't have the whole history, we fill in the gaps. So you can see, for instance, we know that the part was repaired and sent out. So it must have been installed at some point, right, before it was removed again a year later and sent back for more repair. So you don't need to have the complete set of data to get value out of SkyThread, right? The more data we get, the more we can show, the more gap events we can turn into regular events. But even with one customer's view of data, we're able to build a full and complete life cycle. What I really do want to focus on is not necessarily the events list or the timeline view, but this life card. So the life card is, for me, really where the value of SkyThread resides. Here again, we are recording the sequence of events that pertain to this part's life. But unlike the other 2 screens, we're able to capture more information. So I have, again, the 5 different repair cycles listed here. What's very interesting is if I look at the cycles and hours since new, right? And again, anytime a part goes for repair, the airline sending that part as part of the repair order has to ship and send critical usage information in order for that part to be repaired and revalidated as airworthy. So here we see, okay, well, a new part is not going to have any cycles or hours, and we could see as it goes through the sequence of repair events over the last 4 or 5 years, that the fuel nozzle has been allocating cycles and hours as one would expect. But what happened, again, when it was removed and sent for repair in February, is that we see a decrease in cycles and hours, which, as we know, is physically impossible. So something's off here. Is this intentional? No, in this case, it was a mistake, but it illustrates something that I think is very common in the industry. So what happened in this case is that when the nozzle was sent back, the person who received it put in the data, the cycle and hour data for the engine the nozzle came off of versus the hour and cycle data being reported for the nozzle itself. So that went into ERP and then propagated through different communications, different systems, until it was unfortunately stamped on an 8130 tag after repair and became official, right? Just, again, a data entry mistake that without being able to assemble the full life system history in one page would be very hard to catch. So what we can say right now is, Air India has a few of these nozzles that actually are 3 times as used as they think they are, right? And what SkyThread does is by assembling this data, and we talked last time in our webinar about validating data as it comes by looking at whether that, the data that you report about a part is equal to and aligned with the data that other actors that I might report about a part, or that a different repair station might report about a part. And when we flag those discrepancies, that's 9/10 of the battle, and makes it very easy for us to go back and repair, right? Correct that serial number with the errant 1 that's supposed to be an L, or that errant L that's supposed to be a 1. This is a little bit of a different scenario where the core part data, serial number, part number, cage code, manufacturing date, that stays correct across all the different systems. But here there was an issue in entering the hours and cycles. We're able to detect that because of the logic in our system that looks at all of the data as we build the life history, right? If we see a decrease in hours and cycles between an earlier event and a later event, we know something is wrong. And again, we flag that the same way for it to be immediately looked at and corrected. So here, what we're showing again on one page is the ability for all of the necessary data to do repairs, to revalidate parts for airworthiness. It's all collected in one place. It's all collected automatically and in real time, and discrepancies are automatically highlighted. So when you compare this to current process in a lot of different programs and amongst a lot of different suppliers, where data is still being received manually, missing data has to be then chased. People asking for Excel spreadsheets or PDF files where sometimes parts sit in quarantine because they're chasing them, missing actually hours and cycles data, sometimes for days. SkyThread alleviates that by being that central platform where all of this information gets assembled together. Now, as SkyThread is built out, a key capability is to connect to the different ERP systems and the different maintenance information systems programmatically, so that as data is entered into, let's say, an airline system of engagement, into an OEM system of engagement, into, say, an MRO system of engagement, right? They're not using any other system, but the systems they're already using. SkyThread is going in underneath the covers and pulling that data and layering it and aggregating it automatically. But not every customer is going to have an integration into their system from day one. So in some cases, you have customers still sending data on paper, in which case SkyThread can be that system of engagement and that system of record. So in addition to being able to display all the consolidated inventory data, you can go in and record your event data immediately in SkyThread. So for instance, if I am removing a part and shipping it out, I can select a component to remove. Say I have an APU here that I want to remove. I can then go in a very simple interface, put in the purchase order, the date, the repair shop I'm sending it to. And as I fill out information, this is a smart system. So data becomes automatically visible and gets applied automatically as I am then again, building that history. So it's a pretty complete system to be able to manage the sending of technical data back and forth between airlines, OEMs, repair stations, etc. for parts. And that is SkyThread in a nutshell.
That was really interesting. Thank you so much for showing us how the platform works. Thank you for joining me. And thank you everyone for watching. If you'd like to learn more about SkyThread and other aviation technology providers, you can explore them on the Aero.NextGen marketplace. And don't forget to follow Aero.NextGen for more conversations and showcase on aviation technology and innovation. And see you next time.